If you like this channel and what I do here, please help to support my work by checking out one of my books, available from Lulu Publishing and Amazon.com. Thank you. Hiya folks, welcome to Electric Media Madness. Carl James here. I'm joined by Dan Roy, and how you doing, mate?
Doing good.
Good. We wanted to do this little quick impromptu video today. Hopefully it won't be too long because we've got shitloads going on. It's Christmas Eve tomorrow. But we wanted to talk about The Matrix Resurrections because we've seen it, and it's been quite a profound film on both of us in lots of different ways, different for you from mine. I probably still got a lot of the good influence that you've got of it as well, but then I've gone through lots of little journeys in my life and developed how I look at the film.
Yeah.
And imagine a few amount of people that are interested in The Matrix will probably want to go and watch it anyway. But so we are going to get into spoilers in this video, aren't we? But very quickly first, go and see it, really. That's what we're saying here. Yeah. Go and see it. You know, there's a lot of divided opinion out there on the film at the moment. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We tried not to get spoiled or have our opinions influenced, did we? Because I didn't watch any discussion videos on it until after I'd seen the film. I wanted to make sure I knew exactly how I felt about it first. Yeah. So let's just, before we get into spoilers, we will alert you to spoilers. So, but before we do that, was it any good? Basically, that's what really this argument that some people are saying it's shit, some people are saying it's alright, some people are saying it's fantastic. But let's just go on then. What did you think?
I went in thinking that this was going to... Look, the trailers look good.
The trailers look very good. Really good, yeah.
I thought the film was going to be shit. Right. I don't know why, I just had a feeling that it was going to be shit.
I did as well.
And I thought it was good. People don't think that.
Yeah.
But I thought it was quite good.
Yeah. Okay.
Not as good as the original, but still very good.
No, I'm with you on that one, yeah. I enjoyed it. People have talked about it having a weak plot to it. It probably has got a fairly weak plot to it.
I suppose,
without spoilers, we'll get into it. It is a bit... There's stuff that happens in the first... I would say... It's difficult because I couldn't keep track of time. But I would say roughly the first half an hour of the film.
Probably about
that. It did something which people are going to say it was done on a sort of like noddy level, too simplistic. It was identity politics. I thought it was really clever. And it was all about meta-ness to pop culture and films and things like that, and computer games as well, all that kind of stuff. And I would have loved to have seen a film just like that.
Yeah.
And I bet there's a lot of people that say, well, why? Well, no, I think, I mean, the ideal film I would have liked to have seen was something akin to the first Matrix, because I think the timing is very good. I'm going to get into that. I think at the moment we could really do with another Matrix that's telling that story like the Matrix, but it didn't do that. After this half an hour, it veered off into something completely different, which we'll get to in a minute. So I was a bit disappointed because I really loved that first. I don't know, what did you think of that first half an hour of the meta thing?
I was really flicking between like I really like this and that bit was a little bit cringy. Yeah. But overall I did like it, but there was like, am I going to like this film? Because like the first 10 minutes I thought were absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. And then it goes very different. Yeah. I'm like, oh.
I mean, it would be a very, very boring world if we all liked the same things. And I'm certainly not going to sit here and criticise those people who don't like it. They've got their reasons. Since watching the film and cementing what I think about it, and probably you as well, I have looked at a few other bits and pieces just to get the general gist of where people are with it. Some of the stuff I agree with, about special effects, music, story, things like that. And some of it I don't. Some of it has just said, this is a pile of shit. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not a work of genius. It's not like an incredible film. It's got moments of real cleverness in it. And then you kind of think, did they do that by accident? Or were they trying to take the piss out of the audience today that watches films and really dig in it? Because Lana Wachowski's, she wears her identity politics very much on her sleeve. But in this film, it I don't know if unless it was done really, really subtle, and I'm just not clever enough to have picked up on it. Usually, I am. Especially the whole sort of identity politics stuff. I did recognise things that were there, but I certainly didn't feel like I was being bashed over the head with them. They weren't in the film much.
I didn't even notice anything. So
yeah. So before we. Yeah, I think it's difficult to talk about much about the film without going into spoilers. So I think spoiler alert. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to
go to your local cinema, watch the film, or watch it on HBO Max if you're in America.
And let's just briefly say as well. We watched it at the cinema.
We did.
It was packed. There was a lot of people in there.
Almost full.
Yeah, and I don't know whether that's going to continue. But I am very heartened by this idea. We'll just briefly mention this because both you and I have seen Spider-Man No Way Home as well, yes. Which is a brilliant film. It really is a good film. I'm not into Marvel really in the way that, but I liked what they did. And I kind of feel like they've been riffing on that kind of thing a bit recently with Ghostbusters Afterlife, and to some degree with this film as well, but done in a very different way. And it's really heartening because it kind of blows that argument recently out of the water, wasn't it? They were saying because of the coof that people weren't going to the cinema and watching films, and that was why these films over the last year or so have been doing very, very badly in the box office. Spider-Man No Way Home has kind of shit all over that argument, hasn't it? It really has, because it's hurtling towards it's breaking records and
it's like second best opening ever, I think. Like, it's doing,
and people are out there watching it, and they're not wearing their masks as well and all that kind of thing. So I mean, that's a controversial thing to say, but I think I'm not going to get into it too much here. But you and I did have a brief talk about it, and we do think there's a lot of people out there now who are just like, life's got to go on.
There are a lot,
and that it's heartening to see that with the in the cinema. I
mean, our local cinema. And another one, which I'm seeing it at later, which isn't my local cinema, it's full. You can't get a seat before Christmas.
So this argument that people are frightened to death to go out and it doesn't hold water, which kind of, and people could say, oh, maybe it's just recently that's happened, but I don't know, we've had other films that have come out fairly recently, and if The Matrix Resurrections doesn't do well, for whatever reason, that will kind of back that argument up even more, won't it? Because Spider-Man No Way Home is still doing well. So it's not the argument that people aren't watching films.
It needed a film to get people in the cinema. In the UK, No Time to Die pulled a lot of people in, and that was full a lot.
Irrespective of what you might think of the film, of course,
Yeah, but that was... I mean, I saw it, and I was ill. I didn't see it till it was out nearly a month, and all the screenings were still full.
Yeah.
But... that's not the level of Spider-Man. That's pulling people across the whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It will be interesting to see how The Matrix does. First of all, what I think we should do is, I'm just going to quickly say, but people who watch this channel, watch my videos, know that I'm an alternative knowledge researcher. So back in 1999, I was already interested in those subjects, but certainly wasn't a researcher, certainly hadn't published books or done talks and that. So I was a fan of the X-Files. I have different opinions on that now, but it did what it needed to do at the time. It put ideas out there that there was more going on in the world. You had things like Oliver Stone's JFK film as well. There was a lot of other things going on. Matrix came out at a perfect time, and I'm trying to get a little video together. Whether I'll get it done in time, I don't know, but I'm going to talk about this idea of what the Matrix, how it influenced people, waking people up, telling people about this idea of we're all asleep, we're all trapped. I've got my They Live t-shirt on today. That's another film that does that. This idea of humanity is in a slumber and we're being told this is the way the world is around us, but it's actually not like that. There's something very, very different going on. The Matrix did that perfectly. So some people go into the Matrix at that time in 1999 thinking, God, bullet time, kung fu, all this kind of thing, and special effects, nothing seemed like that before. Yeah, I loved that, but it was the story for me. It was like, wake up, Rage Against the Machine, all that, it's like, don't be your sheeple anymore, wake up, see what's going on, kind of thing. So, and that film really stayed with me. And obviously I went off in my different direction, and got doing all that I did. So I felt, and I said this to you as well, I'm not going to get into it here because there's so much censorship on the way things we can talk about at the moment on the internet, but given what's going on in the world with the coup and the Great Reset and identity politics and all of the kit and caboodle of it, you couldn't have had a better time to have another Matrix come out right now that tells people you need to wake up. There's something very different going on in the world, and this film didn't do that, and I think that was a missed opportunity. But that doesn't make it a bad film.
I think if it had done that, everyone would have been really, really aware that it was doing that. I mean, in the age of the internet, a lot more... You can see everything online. Like, there's that information is easy to access. And even different... For or against everything, there's just so much of everything. I think if there was something like that again, people would be very, very aware of what even normal moviegoers, and I think that would put people off.
Possibly, some people I don't think it would have made any difference to. Some people I think it would have very much been, this is good time, and I'm ready to see something like this because God knows there's so little of that at the moment. But I think when it did it the first time round, you never got the impression that it was self-aware, that it was just doing it naturally. I know the Wachowskis researched a lot of esoteric stuff and really into all that kind of stuff still. But you're right, would it have been too obvious that that's what they were doing now?
I mean, the little bits that they did put it in.
Because they did put some, but they did actually put some of that in the film. There was a line with Neil Patrick Harris, his character, is it? The therapist?
Yeah, so spoilers now.
Yeah, spoilers.
He's the big
He's like the architect of this new Matrix. Yeah. He's the therapist that you see in the trailer who's talking to Keanu Reeves, Neo. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and he says some stuff along the lines of, like, people... There's only two things you need.
I wish I'd have written it down, because I thought, wow, when
It was... What was it he said?
He said about the sheeple, didn't he? He said people were sheeple.
And he said something like, the best way to control people is fear and desire. I think that was it.
Which I thought, oh yeah, now that is something, that you actually say. But it was buried in there, wasn't it? It was literally just,
Yeah, it was buried in between him being like extremely sexist.
Yeah. And there were a few other little moments like that as well. I mean, we stayed for the after post credits because there is a post credit scene as well in the film.
There is.
It's very brief and it doesn't really do anything. It's another one of those meta moments, and they say movies are dead and games are dead and all that. And the answer to all of this is cat videos. I think that's what gets all the views on YouTube nowadays.
Does get all the views on the internet.
Yeah. I've not got nothing against that, but people love cats. I've got nothing against cats as such. I prefer dogs, but but each their own. And I thought, you're right. Is it a case that this film's doing it in such a tongue-in-cheek way? Some people have said it's full of identity politics, that they're taking the piss out of people, that jangling the keys of nostalgia bait.
I don't think it is taken.
No, I don't think it. I know a lot of people have said that. I don't think it is, because we should say that this because we don't want to regurgitate the plot here, because we're in spoiler territory now, and if you've spoiler in, then you've probably seen it. So, but we talked about this meta thing in the first half an hour. They're very much replaying. It's almost like the Matrix. The three films are a pop cultural thing that exists within this new Matrix.
Yeah, they're
world.
A really popular game.
Computer games, these three games, and they quote lines from the films and they describe scenes from the films as if they were in this game. Yeah. I think it would have been even better if he'd have been a filmmaker and they'd have done it like that. Because they did have that line in there, didn't they? They said Warner Brothers made us do this, but they wouldn't let us do it without putting the main characters in. I think that's true. I think she might have originally wanted to do it without Neo and...
Didn't they say we can't... Warner Brothers are doing it with or without us.
With or without us, yeah. So we thought it'd be better
if we did it. Yeah.
And you have to... Some people have said, did Lana Wachowski want to do it without Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss? And that was her way of really digging at Warner Brothers? That she brought them in grudgingly? Who knows? Maybe. We don't know these kind of things. That's behind closed doors in Hollywood, so we don't know. I certainly didn't get the impression that was the case, because And again, unless this was a mandate from the studio, don't do this to these established characters. Because another argument, well, we'll say it here, is this question: was it woke? Was it the bashing you over the head with identity politics? And one of the things that they do nowadays, we've seen it with Spock in Discovery, we've seen it with Picard in Star Trek Picard. God knows we've seen it to death in Doctor Who with all establishing, the history of the mythology of that. We saw it with Luke, titty milk drinking in Last Jedi, and to some degree Han Solo as well. They love to shit all over established mythology, pop culture and that, and destroy it. They're not respectful of the past. But I don't feel that there was any disrespect towards these characters.
They didn't change anything from the past. They didn't retcon anything. And there was also a bit where, like, Neo's like, oh, God, everything we did was for nothing. It was all worthless. And they're all like, no, it actually wasn't worthless.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
So they made a conscious effort to be like, we're not trashing the old stuff.
I wonder if the Niobe character, because Niobe comes back for the film from the second one, I think she was in, was she? I can't remember now. The second
and third, I think.
She was very much against that, wasn't she? And she said that she didn't think that the one was real and that kind of thing. So maybe that was a little bit of subtle, bashing at it. I don't know. But the rest of the characters,
because at the end, she did kind of believe.
She did by the end. Yeah. They reinforced those characters, and they did make a point of saying, that the one is Neo, and it wasn't because another spoiler as well, isn't it? People have said that Trinity was going to become the one at the end and push Neo out of the picture, and then it would be about she's the bestest ever, like Mikey Spock in Discovery. That it sort of happens, but doesn't happen in that way, does it?
No, she doesn't. It's not that he's not the one.
No, he is the one, and he has got powers, but he doesn't seem to have the powers that he did have because he was not remembered. He's still he's trying to remember it all again, isn't he? So, sorry, go on.
She comes back completely. So, like, because they're both like the power source for this new Matrix, they have the power to control it. So it makes sense that she is also the one as well as him.
Yeah.
So it's not that he's not the one and she is. They both fly away at the end.
The one. So. Yeah. It's the only moment is that people might groan was when they jump off the. Did they jump off the building or blown off the building or whatever?
No, they jump off the building.
Yeah. She flies,
but he doesn't. Yeah.
She catches him, and some people might say, well, that's the proof. That's all the proof you need that she's like the bestest ever now and that. But when that's all that scene's over with and everything goes on to the last little coda of the film, they both fly.
Yeah, they literally
they both got their powers and can do, and I did notice how they put the therapist, they put her at the front of it to do all the beating of him and that, and he kind of just stood back and said, oh, she can do, and some people might argue again that was putting her at the forefront, but he's still the one, and he's still got the powers.
I think putting her there was the better choice because she isn't in the film a huge amount.
No, she's not in it that much, is she? No, it's mainly Neo.
So I think giving her, especially the fact that she's the one as well, she needed that.
Yeah.
Like, in the first Matrix, it's when Neo's just there, like, blocking all like this. And you're like, wow, okay. Hers was, like, slashing his throat and then clicking and resetting.
Yeah.
Like, I think it needed a scene to show she has the power too.
Yeah.
And that was that scene.
Because you hadn't really seen that other than her. And then she did a few bit, and all that bit where she was going, but that was more about her coming out of the Matrix, wasn't it, than actual power thing. People were trying to say that the trailer was her showing that she was the one. That was actually her being drawn out of the Matrix.
That was their body
like
swapping place.
Yeah. And she did a few bits and pieces, but if you notice when she's riding along on the motorbike and he's the one that's doing all the force pushing, and blasting everything. Yeah, she's just riding the bike, and she's very good at it and steering all that. But he's doing all the
force pushing.
Yeah.
That is all he does in this film, right? Like, he's fighting.
He's just force pushing everybody. Yeah.
Every time he's losing a fight, he fights more fierce. He's losing, he force pushes.
Yeah.
He fights Agent Smith.
Yeah.
He's losing, he force pushes.
Yes. He does do a lot of fighting.
He does, but
I mean, you don't really see that. Certainly in the first Matrix film, it's only towards the very end when you start to see what he can do. So the idea of the way he would go inside people and all that, and that really didn't happen, did it? No. So I mean, this idea of the two of them being the one. I mean, I like that because there is a duality. It's yin and yang and all that kind of thing. There is a duality to the Matrix films, which I learned years later, where you've got on one side of it, you've got this idea of tyranny and control and all this kind of thing, being trapped prisoner, being asleep and waking up, and people say, oh, that's a real, like against the system of Hollywood. But then if you look into the way those films are made, the original Matrix trilogy, there's a lot of very pro Hollywood. It's got all that typical sort of esoteric, occult, all that kind of thing. So it works the system. It does all the things that a lot of these big films do in Hollywood as well. Anyway, so you kind of got that. So it doesn't diminish what it does in terms of purpose it served, in terms of the story itself, but I know it's got a lot of dark stuff as well that people say, oh, this is a signs of evil kind of thing, and you can debate that. I've got mixed sort of views on that kind of thing, but that's something I am going to get into in another video. But this idea of duality, there is that duality there, whereas the one, and it made me think actually of Babylon 5, Sinclair is the one who was, Dylan is the one who is, and Sheridan is the one who will be. Yeah, I know it's three in that respect, but it's still kind of playing with that idea that the one is not one. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that Neo was the one in the previous Matrix films. It's just that the architect this time has built a Matrix on the one where there's two of them, the negative and the positive. Like
he basically
electrical
says
charge sort of thing, creating the most
charge that he could generate was the two of them when they weren't not together but they were almost
close to each other. Yeah.
So that's why like she's in the coffee shop loose and
he plays with a lot of those ideas because I like the Matrix has always played with the Mandela effect as well. It's always played with that. And people have said that was prescient. I think it is actually. It's prescient in that. Because particularly, there is a line that I remember. I don't know if you remember. Did you remember it? You said you remembered it. The line that is now not in the original Matrix film. What if I told you that everything you believe was a lie? I mean, a lot of people. I remember that line being in the film when I saw it at the cinema.
I also remember.
I remember it from when I had it on. When I first got it on DVD and all that, but that line's not there in the film now. So what that's about, and they do kind of play with that a little bit here as well, because I suppose they play with it in the first, but they do play with it in the first film, certainly with Neo and the Black Cat, Dejavu, all that kind of thing as well, which is in this film again.
Yeah,
and in this time you've got I know it's quite a sad thing, this idea of two people who loved each other very much and then they're torn away, and they put her married with kids and that, don't they, to keep her away from.
They both have like someone controlling them. He's got Agent Smith basically as his partner, and she's got her husband and kids.
Yeah. Get a few cameos as well. Merovingian comes in, he's a crazy lunatic shouting in French and not understanding half of what he's saying. He kind of defeated the object of him being there, but it was funny that it was there. There's a lot of humour in it as well. People have said about this, about the film being like uncomfortably funny, that it was trying to be funny too much, but I don't think it ever.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. It's more laughing at the I got that. It's not blatant comedy, is it? It's like, I got that reference. Yeah. It's lots of, here, our audience, what do you think about that kind of thing? Some of it's positive, some of it's digging. Bugs. Let's talk about Bugs.
A lot of people thought Bugs was going to be really bad.
Yeah. Well, I did a blue-haired goon, that's what I saw it in the trailer. I thought, oh God, here we go, another one of them.
I actually really liked her.
I did.
And I would very much, if they ever make more Matrix films, I would very much like her in them.
Yeah.
I didn't. The rest of the cast, like the people on the ship, are quite forgettable.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of their names.
No, I can't. No.
But so those could be replaceable with anyone. They barely get any time or anything. But Bugs, I did really like in it.
Yeah. She's in it a fair bit, but she doesn't. She's not like. Let's make a point here of saying Neo carries this film.
Yes.
He's up front and centre through pretty much all of it.
He is the main character.
He's the main character in the film. Yeah. So this argument of, that Bugs was going to be the main character, the new one or whatever. No, she isn't.
She isn't at all.
She isn't at all. Well, Trinity, like we say, she's barely in it.
Yeah,
I think if you wrapped it up, she's probably only in it for about 25 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, because she's in it near to the start. Well,
keep seeing her in the coffee shop, don't you?
You see her in the coffee shop, and he has a chat with her one time, and then you see her like in the pod.
Yeah.
And then it's just the end.
Yeah.
Pretty
just
much.
The last bit that she's in. Yeah, but she's really not in it that much, really.
No.
So that argument doesn't carry water. Yeah. If you carry the argument that she becomes the flying one and all that, But again, we've kind of put our point on that one.
It's not like she was never a badass either.
No.
I mean, even the opening scene of the first film, she is an absolute badass.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she is.
Yeah.
And other people had talked about. Obviously, we're not going to get into it here, but Lana Wachowski, with sexual identity and all that kind of thing. People have talked about whether this film was going to be an allusion to metaphor for those kinds of things. You could probably interpret some things like that if you wanted to, but they're more about how you choose to see a film. Yeah. Rather than it's actually in the film to give you clues that it's there. If it is there, it's very, very, very subtle and very, very hidden.
Yeah.
Because we saw there's a scene at the end where Bugs, when they get out and all that, and she hugs another girl and I think she kisses her or something like that. But it's never established if that's her partner, a love partner or whatever, or a friend or what. And and some people said, "Oh, that's her girlfriend," or whatever, and that or whatever that is. How you want to label that relationship, or whatever that they're together, but we really couldn't be sure.
No.
And everybody else that was watching it was it's just left to interpret it your own way. So
yeah.
So was it woke? I don't know. No, I don't think it was.
No.
And if there was any identity politics in there, what I did pick up on little tiny things were very subtle. Let's talk about generally stuff we did and didn't like. I think
One thing that I was a bit disappointed by was the action scenes, but I think the Matrix had really good and unique action scenes. This didn't quite as much.
No.
But another thing is, I physically cannot see Keanu Reeves with long hair and a beard as anyone else but John Wick anymore.
Yeah.
Because I just that is John Wick to me.
Yeah.
So I think there was a hint to that actually, because on the train, doesn't someone try and stab him with a pencil? Which he does kill someone with a pencil in John Wick. So
yeah. So maybe it was a nod to that.
Maybe it was.
Yeah. But the train scene was very good actually.
It was.
It was really good. That was yeah.
But because I was talking about this to you before, all the other scenes they have like at least one like wow action scene. Like in the first one, like when they're fighting.
There's a lot in all the films. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
This film is quite light on the action. It's got a couple of really good set pieces. There's the train bit. There's the motorbike chase.
There aren't any like
couple of fights with the agents. Or
unique wacky things though.
No,
because like the first one you've got like by the train. The second one you've got like fighting a million agents. Third one there's
the car chase on the motorway as well in Reloaded. That's
And then the third one there's like when they're on the ceiling and the floor, or the big fight at the end.
Yeah, and there's obviously the battle with the AIs in the Zion and all that. And
this one for me didn't have a fight like that.
No,
one of the big ones. So,
and this is something is worth mentioning actually, because it's again what do you get out of a film if you want something that's identity politics and I must make a point because we've talked about that. Having that kind of stuff in films is fine. Just don't bash and be disingenuous at the same time. Don't preach to your audience, bash them over the head and be disingenuous. That film doesn't do this. So if you're going to do, there's ways of doing those things and you can do them really, really well. Just do it in a genuine way. Don't destroy the plot and the past. So and so another thing as well is what people get out of the Matrix. And I've got quite a unique relationship with it, and I like the action stuff. But when I watched that first film, I got out of it the idea of being trapped and being imprisoned of humanity, and then you were waking up and being free. That to me is what I carry out of those films. It's not kung fu, bullet time, da 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 da. So I think there's going to be a lot of people watch this and say, "Oh, it didn't have much of that stuff. Or it didn't have any of that stuff, and that's why I don't like it."
Yeah.
if you want to like a film because you want certain stuff to be in there, that's a fine, valid point. That's how most people watch films, you know. But, or if you're going to hate a film because it didn't have those things in it that you didn't like it, if there was a precedent for why it was all what made it good, what made it famous, and then it wasn't there, then that's a pretty good argument. Yeah. But The Matrix is a layered film. It's not just an action film. Yeah. So, fine, if you want your action, there isn't as much of it. So you might be disappointed.
Yeah.
And somebody could say to me, well, you didn't really have your freedom wake up story as well that was in the first one and that. But it's just different.
Yeah. I think
it's just different.
It needed to be something different. Mm-hmm. If it had I mean, the film makes the point that
very much it is that. Yeah.
They're all like, oh yeah, everyone wants the same thing as the original. Don't do anything new.
Yeah. And that sometimes can fail miserably.
It can.
I don't think this did fail in doing that.
I don't.
It was flimsy in terms of plot. It didn't really have a huge amount to work with. And like I say, that meta thing for the first half an hour, I would have loved to have seen that as a whole film. Maybe I would have got bored with it after an hour, you know, but...
I do think that the first, like, initial set-up premise for the movie is the best bit. Like, I mean, the start of the film when you've got, like, the opening scene of the first one, but like from different angles.
Yeah, and it's a different woman, and you think, oh, is this? I was like, oh, that's a new Trinity, you know?
And then you got Bugs watching there, and suddenly, like, there's they're like, oh, something's different. Not Trinity gets captured.
Yeah.
And then like, loads of agents come along, and then like Morpheus is an agent.
Yeah.
But looks different.
Yeah.
And then it's
clearly not
pulled out, and then
Fishburne,
and then it's Neo with it on its computer, and that initial bit I was
it was
like,
good. Yeah,
whoa.
It really was good. Really clever. So yeah. So in terms of things, so we talked about the stuff that we liked. I talked about the meta thing. I think the love story worked fine.
Oh yeah.
People have said it was redundant because it was already done in the 3 films. That's a fair argument, but you know, kind of a soft reboot, but it isn't a reboot really. It's a sequel. It's clearly a sequel.
It is a sequel
because these are the same characters, and you know.
Another thing I did quite like, because I was like, obviously in the other films, you know, Neo and Trinity die. I was like, how are they going to bring them back? And I think they did it in an okay way.
It was a pretty obvious, cheesy way.
It was, you know,
but it didn't.
Could have been worse.
Yeah, I know. I never thought of anything. Oh God, you know, they've done it like that. It makes sense that an AI, you know, that level of technology, they could rebuild humans, and you know, that's a point. That's something I didn't like about the film actually. Because of the research I do in like transhumanism and all that, this film is very pro-transhumanism because it had a lot of AIs that were now working with humanity. There's a couple of the characters, these robot things, aren't they? These droid things. And I got the impression that they kind of just make new toys. They were just promoting the new toy line.
I thought they were going to like turn on them.
Yeah. Because they looked really evil first thing.
Like the strawberry farmer. And then you got like the ones like the strawberry farmer one as well. I was like, are they going to turn them as well?
That never happened.
No.
And yeah, I don't know. There are some good AIs and robots and that in films, but this kind of melting pot of humanity and artificial intelligence together, I'm always very, very wary of that because that's where we're going in the world, and that is something we've got to be very, very concerned about. Certainly the transhumanism thing as well, humans just being melded with technology and that. And you could argue that was already in the Matrix films as well. So that it didn't like ruin the film for me. I just thought, oh God, here we go.
Also, the acting all around was very good. I mean, the new Morpheus was acted
I liked
very
him.
well.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
The new,
I'd like to have seen Lawrence Fishburne, but you know,
the new Smith was quite good.
Yeah, I don't know the name of the actor. But,
I can't remember it. But if it was Hugo Weaving, it'd have been
that would have improved
so good.
Yeah, it's a shame really that they didn't have him in it. Yeah, and
but I suppose if it did, the like little twist that his partner is actually Smith wouldn't have worked.
Yeah,
but
he could have had the mystery of what he was.
That's true.
Him being nice and friendly with him and that, but he got ruined as soon as he did turn Smithy.
Yeah.
And then there's a double twist at the end, isn't there? As Smithy,
they team up.
Yeah, but it's only out of self-preservation, isn't it? Really, it's like kind of what he.
Honestly, like this film would have got like an extra half a point, maybe a full point on the score if it was him as Smith.
He's a great actor. Yeah.
They should have just made him a different agent.
Yeah.
Not Smith.
Not Smith. No,
because you just spend the whole time comparing him
and
to the original.
Is that just
Smith?
jangling keys at the Matrix fans? You know, is it member berries? You know, is that why they did that? Who knows?
They did apparently try to get Hugo,
right?
But he just couldn't make it work with the other stuff he was working on.
Okay. Yeah.
And Lawrence Fishburne just wasn't asked, I don't think.
Yeah, I've heard different things on that. I've heard he was asked and he read the script and didn't like it, didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I've heard other people have said he wasn't asked, so I don't know. Okay, stuff we didn't like. People have said that the special effects are shit in this film. I've heard that said. What do you think?
I don't think they're shit. They're not like they're not like Spider-Man or Dune or anything like like that this year. But I do think they're okay. But they're not like terrible. No,
I liked them. I liked some of the. I don't know whether it's technology that it was all CGI or whether it was scenic shots. I don't know, but some of the, especially the sunset sunrise thing or whatever it was on the top of the skyscraper towards the end. I mean, it looked gorgeous. That did.
I think it was a conscious choice to make it look like that. They wanted to make it
computerized.
They wanted
artificial.
to make it look real, but not completely real. Like they want, because when in the flashback scenes. I've seen a few comparisons online to the original, and they have changed how stuff looked.
Right,
because it was like, that was the real Matrix. This is like...
Yeah, the colour
the game of it.
Yeah.
So they've made, like, when Neo's like lying on the desk, they made him look a bit more CG in this.
Yeah.
So I think...
Yeah, I think that was consciously done. And again, it's meta. Did it put people off because and they just missed that, or is it just that you expect a lot, you want a lot more CGI and a lot more special effects, and there's not as much of it in it? So I don't know. Again, it's what you take of it, isn't it? It's what you go in with, what your expectations are. But in terms of what was there on screen, it never stood out as being, oh god, that looks shit.
I feel like people have missed.
I think, I don't want to sound like I'm talking down to anybody watching in the audience or anything like that, but I do feel like people have missed something.
I think in a few years, maybe even 10 years or whatever, people will appreciate this a bit more.
Yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know if, not necessarily that people aren't ready for it, but people weren't expecting it.
Either we are really, really thick, and we are just like... can be blown over just by trivial trite things. I don't think I am that sort of person. I don't think you are.
I don't think so.
I would say we're quite cultured in terms of what we, got a good appreciation of the way these things work. But I think there's a lot of subtlety here.
Yeah. I think so.
Might have just gone over people's heads a bit. I don't know.
I mean, like,
it needs further rewatch.
I do think it does. After watching it, I was like, I do need to watch this.
We might find that we change our mind and think, no, actually, this isn't as good as we thought it. In terms of.
I mean, even in our screening, there's like even the Warner Brothers joke bit. Like no one else laughed in there.
No one got it.
I expected.
Yeah.
I mean, not even the people who went with us.
There's a few that I cannot even remember what they were now. That I know that I look. There's a couple with you as well. I noticed the weird things that happened. And you laughed, not because it was funny, because it was a commentary on something. Yeah. It was making a dig at something. And you're like, ha! That was good. That was clever, that was, But we can't remember what they are now.
No,
I can't remember what any of them are. But we know they were there. And there was a lot of them as well.
There was a lot in that
There was a lot.
It was that, maybe 20-minute section.
Yeah. So I think this is a film that might get appreciated more when people have had a chance to watch it a few more times. Maybe some people are just... Their expectation was of a certain thing,
and it was very different.
And it wasn't that. Yeah. So and of course, with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, people wanted. I wanted to see another Matrix. I wanted something that would comment on everything that's going on in the world at the moment. Didn't do that. But that doesn't. So music, that is an issue for me.
The
music is really good in the Matrix, especially the first one. They had Wake Up there, but it wasn't the.
It was a cover.
It was a cover that was a bit, I mean,
I like they brought it back, but the cover wasn't the best cover in the world.
They had Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit in it, which they used in the trailer as well. I have some issues with that song because it's all to do with LSD, CIA, MK Ultra, mind control type stuff and all that. Alice in Wonderland was. I'm going to get into that in another video, so I'm not going to get into that here. So I think it worked for what it was in the film, but I don't like the real meaning of that song.
I can't remember, like, I can picture in my head, like, certain scenes from the first one, and I just know the music that goes to it. I can't do that at all with any scene in this.
No. I was a bit disappointed by how jarringly it changed. Because I thought, I was really enjoying this, this meta thing. Yeah. And then when he came out of the Matrix, and then it became more about the love story with Neo and Trinity.
It does kind of...
It kind of went away from that. It kept coming back to it little bits here and there, but it dumped a lot of that.
It's very different from the first one, and then it just drops into being...
Do you get the feeling like there was two films juggling with each other here?
Yeah.
Either one of them could have been a film complete in its own.
This could have been separated into two films.
Yeah. So
we need the 5-hour cut.
I really would have liked to have seen a meta. I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know. Be careful what you wish for, because if I'd have watched it, I might have found after 45 minutes, 50, I was like, I'm bored with this now. So,
it was weird, that first bit for me, because like some of it, I was like, this is very smart. And then other bits I was like, that bit was a little bit cringe.
Yeah, this is really dumb. But then they also played into this idea that some people, it's going to sound really insulting when you say this, but some people are dumb in their expectations of what they want. They do want just flashbang wallop, big buildings exploding left, right and centre and not much else. They did do that. It also felt like they took the piss out of people, nostalgia bait.
They did, well. Yeah. There was a big section when it was like...
And normally we would have argued against that, because we think nostalgia sometimes, when it's done properly, it's to the benefit.
I mean, No Way Home.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example of it, yeah. But then it's almost schizophrenic, this film is sometimes, in its thinking. Because it does that, and then a few minutes later, it'll be saying something really good about nostalgia. So...
Because there's like a few minute section where it's like a time lapse of all their meetings about the Matrix 4, and like they're just like, people want this. They don't give it. They don't care about anything new. They just want old stuff.
Yeah. I know Lana Wachowski had some involvement in the writing of it, and I can't remember the name of the chap who wrote Cloud Atlas, who was involved with was this as well. Which Cloud Atlas is actually a very good film. It's a really good, clever film. But whoever wrote this, it felt like sometimes you're thinking they're coming to this from quite a left-wing political ideological view, and then other moments you think them sort of right of centre, then they're centrist, then they're left of centre, then they're extreme left, then a bit right again. It's like that, isn't it? It's does like that. It jerks all over the place in terms of what it's commenting on. So maybe that is what has put some people off.
Yeah.
They wanted it to be like, I want them to plant their flag firmly on, extreme sort of views, one way or the other, and it lurches all over the place in terms of what it's trying to say.
I think why a lot of people are hating it, and this is just based off like a bunch of comments on like Facebook and Twitter that I've read, but a lot of people are like, it seems like they're not giving it much of a chance. Like they're not getting, not getting. I have to word this so I don't sound like I'm being like, ooh, look at me.
No, I know exactly what you say. I know exactly what you're saying.
A lot of people are missing some of the commentary in that first half an hour, and they're just like, this film is shit and boring. Yeah. And they're not giving the rest of it a chance because of that. Or they're just turning it off.
I mean, I've heard people say, I never went to university, I consider myself to be quite a bright person, but I never went to university, I'm not got a good degree or anything like that, but I'm well read. But I've heard people say, the level of intellectualism of that meta stuff in the first is like college student level.
Yeah.
Intelligence and level of education, it's not much more profound beyond that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just a lowbrow kind of, you know, I don't know. Yeah,
I
thought I was a bit more enlightened, you know, in terms of that. But I don't know.
Well, from a certain point of view, I guess it's not like super high out there commentary. It's just stuff that you don't see in a film often. Like people all the time are like, "Oh yeah, this nostalgia bait crap" or whatever, but you don't actually see people saying Warner Brothers forced us to make the Matrix 4 in a film.
That, the good argument in terms of that you know, what do you call it? Baiting people in terms of nostalgia baiting, right? Case in point, I love Red Letter Media, but I did not agree with their review of Ghostbusters Afterlife at all.
Yeah.
They slammed that film. Was it perfect? No. Was it a work of genius? No. It was just a very good film.
Yeah.
And I don't think it failed in terms of what it was doing. But people really, they keep going on about, you know, jingle, jingle, jangle, member berries, all that kind of thing, you know. But I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. It's context. Each film you have to look at it in its own right. So, if there's unless there's anything else you want to say, really, would we recommend people go to see this?
Yeah, I
don't think it's. Yeah,
I think I would.
I think so. I think it deserves a few viewings.
I definitely need to watch it again.
Yeah.
There's certain bits that I think I'm not 100% sure how I stand on certain bits in the film.
We could find as time goes on that we really do change out. I mean, that happened with me with The Matrix. I held The Matrix up as being this work of genius, the first one, and it was nothing but good in terms of its message in it. Then when I started doing my alternative knowledge research, I realised, like I say, there's duality to it. There's lots of hidden stuff that a lot of people aren't going to like, and I don't like about it. You know, but does that take anything away from about what I got out of it originally? No. That is there. That's not how I interpret it. That is very much there in that film. But it's sending you double messages all the time. The original message, the original Matrix is. I think this film does that and more viewings of it will start to show those things up.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I was thinking about it earlier before we did this, and I was like, I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about this in a year from now. Like, I could love it, or I could hate it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So our recommendations to people could change dramatically, and I suppose to bring this video to its conclusion with our score as well. Our score might change.
Our score, it probably will.
Where would you place it for now?
I think. I have been thinking about this as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'd put it around an 8.5.
Well, this happens every time.
Have you got the same?
Doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I think, I think an 8.
Yeah. Mine's sort of 8.5.
It's not as good as the original Matrix. Very few films are going to be as good as the original
I wasn't
Matrix.
Even expecting it to be.
I do think it's actually better than Reloaded and...
I think so, yeah.
I think it's better. But I'm not of the idea that the second and third ones are shit films. A lot of people bash the second and third ones. I think they're all right. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good films. They're far from being perfect, but you know they're not like masterpieces. But
yeah, I think this was better than them. You know, as we said, that might change.
That might change. Yeah. I think certainly in terms of the research I'm doing at the moment for another book and things like that, and I am looking into the Matrix again. I've been doing some stuff to try and get some other little videos done. So. It might be worth me revisiting it a few times just to see. So I'm looking at it on more of an esoteric level as well, see what I can dig out of it, because that almost certainly will change my opinion then at that point. So, but I did pick up on them as they were there in it. So yeah. Okay then. So I don't think that really there's much else for us to say at this point, is there?
I think so. No.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me doing this at such a late in the day with everything that's going on in the world at the moment. We are going to try and get some more videos done. We have, if all goes to plan, I hate saying these things on video because I have to edit it out, but if all goes to plan, this will go up on the 23rd, is it?
It is the 23rd.
And I'm going to try and put our rewatchable Christmas special, which we're going to keep as a surprise till it comes out. Which
can't wait for that.
Which is, that was good. I think that's going to be a good video. I really enjoyed doing that. Which I'm going to try and put that up tomorrow night, so that'll be Christmas Eve. If not Christmas Eve, certainly Christmas Day. But the intention is to get it up for Christmas Eve evening. So
we watch a cinematic masterpiece.
Yes. I don't want to spoil it for
anyone.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
We really went down the rabbit hole, didn't we, with that one? We watched a film, and then we ended up we brought a cinematic genius into the fray, and then it just totally took us off in a different direction, and we had such a...
And then we wrote a Doctor Strange fan fiction.
Doctor
Strangelove.
Well, I put it, Freudian slip there, because Doctor Strange, metaverse.
That's true, yeah.
Multiverse and all that.
But Doctor Strangelove, yeah.
Everything's just multiverse now, isn't it? Everything's multiverse, metaverse, Mandela effect. It's a golden age of reality is not what we think it is. We're in that territory now. Who would have thought that film that we watched might well have been directed by somebody that was a genius? No, obviously wasn't. But we'll save that for them.
No one is going to be able to guess what this is based on.
Not at all. No, we'll tease this. This is our teaser for our Christmas rewatchable. Yeah, that's our tease for Christmas rewatchable. All right then. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been an interesting discussion. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right then. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do all that good stuff. Like, share, subscribe. I know people get fed up of hearing that, but it really, really does help. Please help, because we need a couple more subscribers to get us over that 100 mark. The hump of 100, so I'd really appreciate that if you could do that. Comment in that you are the one that did it as well. That we'll get back to you. So really appreciate that. Yeah. All right then. So we'll take care for now. If don't see you before, Merry Christmas, and see you again soon.
Merry Christmas.
Take care for now. Bye bye.